Welcome back to the channel, guys. There's a new addition here and we'll talk about that later. This is VIN 0973. This is a 2016 1H9, which is Nebula Gray Pearl with LA30 or red interior that popped up for sale here at the beginning of November 2025 for sale on Facebook Marketplace in New Jersey with 59,000 miles for $58,000. So it looks like it was a Virginia, Maryland, and New Jersey car pretty much its whole life. It's not like a California car or something like that, but we'll dive a little deeper and see what we find out. Production statistics. Nebula Gray Pearl is a 2016 only color on these cars, so 1 year only. There are 157 of them, which amounts to 6.5% of all of the production for US 49 were Nebula Gray Pearl. Of those 157, there were 64 that had LA30 interior. So this car is on the rarer side of colors, but it's a common combination for them. So it's one of 64 that exist in this color combination. Nebula Gray Pearl with red interior that left the factory that way. Specific to 2016 though, the percentage goes up because there are more cars and there was a lot of them produced for that year. So 157 out of the 1,417 cars, that amounts to about 11% of these cars for 2016 were Nebula Gray Pearl. It's kind of the middle of the road for the color rarity. It's the 5th most common or the 7th rarest out of the 11 colors that were offered on this car, however you want to look at it. Carfax, Epic VIN, and AutoCheck. So Carfax shows this as a 3-owner, 1 accident or damage reported to the side of it in June of 2017, so right when it was brand new. Epic VIN shows this as a 4-owner, no accident car, and AutoCheck shows this as a 3-owner, no accident car. So I think it's safe to say this is a 3-owner, 1 accident or incident type of car. Previous sales, March of 2016 in Brooklyn, New York, and it was still for sale in October of 2016, and it looks like it finally sold in November of 2016, so it was for sale for about 8 months. Pretty standard of what you saw when these cars were new. $90,000 just didn't get them sold. They had to discount them sometimes as much as $20,000+ to get them sold. So I'm assuming this car probably did not sell for its MSRP, much like the rest of them. When it did sell to its first owner, it already had 8,000 miles. So I don't know if it was a dealer demo or maybe the dealer just kept it as his own car for a while. I don't know, but it wasn't titled until it had 8,000 miles. August of 2017, 9 months later in Virginia with 15,000 miles for $64,000, L certified pre-owned. June of 2022 in Maryland with 23,000 miles for $62,000. And so basically somebody drove it for about 4 years and only lost about $4,000. So in August of 2022, it looks like it's then for sale. So like 2 months later, it's for sale by an individual with still around 23,000 miles for $58,000 in Maryland. And they state it was only driven on nice days and weekends. Of course, if they've only owned it for 2 months. But they do note that there was a scratch below the passenger side door. And now here in November of 2025 in New Jersey with almost 60,000 miles for $58,000, which is the same price that he basically paid about 3 years prior, if this is where he bought it from this individual. So on to the photos. So the seller does state that this car has full body paint protection film. So if it had a scratch earlier, I don't think that this PPF was on this car since new. So that would be something to look at and inspect and see if there are defects that are underneath the film. But for those of you that have done a full body paint protection film on a car, you know that it can be like $7,000 to $10,000. So it's very expensive, but it basically keeps the paint like new, like perfect underneath it. And you do have to replace that every 7 to 10 years. It does age and fail, and it lifts on the edges, things like that. Something to keep in mind when looking at this car is just kind of inspect the film closely, ask how old it is. It looks like if this owner had it done, then he had it done about 3 years ago. But that is something to inspect. The seller states that it has a GT House mid-pipe, but it also comes with the original. So you get a little bit louder exhaust, not overwhelming or droning or anything like that. The exterior looks flawless as you would expect for a full body PPF car from the photos. However, one spot that's always missed is the front grille surround, the chrome piece. That it gets pitted and things like that. That's not a common piece that is covered with PPF. My car had paint protection film on it originally, and it didn't have that grille surround covered, so it was all peppered after 50,000 miles or so. And so my car is similar mileage to this. This car has about 55,000, 56,000 miles. you know, it's something to keep in mind if you're going after perfection, that you would probably end up replacing the grill surround, which that piece is about $500, and a few hours of your time to remove the bumper and replace that. So onto the interior. The seller is asking a pretty premium price for this car, and so I would expect that it need nothing and it pretty much be ready to go at this price. The interior, it looks like the carbon fiber is starting to delaminate. So again, at this asking price, I would expect that that would be addressed. Another question I would have for the seller, is it winter driven? Is it rusty underneath at all? You know, you are asking a premium price for this, so I would expect pretty much as close to perfection as possible for the asking price. Speaking of the price, I think this car is where it's at. It's probably a little on the high side. I think that you would probably expect this like in the $48,000 to $52,000 range, which is where a lot of these cars have popped up here recently in the last 3 or 4 months with around 50 or 60,000 miles, and they're selling in the $48,000 to $52,000 range. And those are ones that may need a little bit of work. And so if this one is fully sorted and ready to go, which, you know, if the carbon fiber trim's delaminating, you know, I wouldn't call that fully ready to go. But if you're going to ask a premium price, as I said, I think that it should need nothing else. You should be able to pay the price, get in and go. And it doesn't appear that that's the case. Service history. So this car looks like it was pretty well dealer serviced for like the first year or two, but it's definitely not well dealer serviced since then. In the last 6 or 7 years and like 40,000 miles, there's really not a whole lot that has been done service-wise on this car, and including what's on the Carfax, there's not a lot. There's like a tire replacement or something on the Carfax, but the rest of it, it's a big old question mark. And with this car having 60,000 miles on it, 60,000 mile service, and so we'll see if that's been done. So the first entry of note is April of 2017. The low pressure fuel pump was reprogrammed. That's called the EG1617. Pretty common to see. You hear a buzzing or humming in the back seat, so that's sorted. September of 2017, a dent was removed from the roof. April of 2018, the JLB recall was done. That's the high pressure fuel pumps. So most of these cars have that done. March of 2021, the passenger front window was making noise when it was rolled down, and it looks like a connector was loose, and that was sorted. July of 2022, the rear dome light was coming out, and so they put some foam in it or around it to add some tension to it, and it looks like it resolved the issue. And then there's about a 2-year, 21,000 mile gap from 2022 to 2024, and in 2024 at 44,000 miles, so again, that's almost 15,000 miles ago, it was a few rattles were addressed, there was vibration noted, and they found a few of the wheels were bent. And they recommended fixing them, but they were not fixed there, and it looks like they also flushed the brake fluid. So basically some rattles and flushing the brake fluid 2 years ago, but prior to that, you're back to 2021. And so this car has a lot of questions as far as service history. As I said, there's nothing else on Carfax. So what is not done? 60,000 mile service. That's the big one. It's almost right at 60,000 miles. So you need to do spark plugs, transmission fluid, differential, belts, inspect the hoses. The brake fluid was done, but the rest of it has not been done. And so if you went to a dealer to do that, it could be in excess of $2,000 to have all that service done. So there is some catching up on service that needs to be done on this car. What else has not been done? The carbon fiber in the interior is all original, and you can see it looks like, as I said, it looks like the carbon fiber is starting to delaminate, so that needs to be addressed. There's those 5 front pieces that are really commonly delaminating on the left and right front doors, the left and right dash pieces, and the center console. Sometimes the drink cup holder lid, but that's not as common. So it's pretty much just the front 5 pieces need to be addressed. They're all original, so they all will delaminate. It's not if they delaminate, it is when they delaminate. And so you have that coming if you purchase this car. Front lower control arm bushings. Don't see anything about those being replaced unless they've been replaced by a third party or by the seller himself. I don't see where the AC servo sweep has been done. So that would be, you need to get in this car, let it get up to fully up to temperature, set one side to hot, one side to cold, cycle through the defrost, the feet, the head, all of it, and then switch and make sure everything responds like it should. If it doesn't, you may be on the hook for a dash removal to replace some of those servos, and those can get very expensive. The ZLZ still applies to this car, so that is the dash replacement. If it's sticky, delaminated, deforming, cracked, anything like that, some people have success getting those front 2 carbon fiber pieces replaced under that campaign as well. Lexus covers that 10 years from the in-service date on this car, and so it still applies here for probably another 6 or 7 months. I don't see the KLG, which is the customer service campaign for the GPS location. That hasn't been done on this. It's a pretty common thing. Also, it's not covered for free anymore, but it was at one time. And so now the dealer's probably going to charge you an hour of labor. And so that's just, if you're driving on the interstate, it may show you off on the exit ramp or something like that. That's it's a common fix. If you don't use the navigation, or if you use an aftermarket, then it's not important. Brakes, tires, I don't see anything there. You would obviously inspect that. I don't see the valley plate being done or resealed, so you would obviously be on the hook for that pretty soon too. There's a lot service-wise that this car needs to be caught up on, and I would say at $58,000, based on what we now know needs to be done, it's overpriced. Would I buy this car? I think if you could get it significantly cheaper, now that we know that it's pretty behind on service, it may need tires, may need brakes, may need carbon fiber, it could need the paint protection film redone depending on how old it is. There's a lot of questions on this one, and I think that if you could get it like in the upper 40s, that would probably be a good price for this car. I don't see any red flags per se. That accident or damage that was reported on the side, just look at that. But you may have to put money aside for the valley plate. There's a lot more post-purchase that you may have to put into this car just to get it caught up on service, if nothing else. So definitely do a pre-purchase inspection on this one. At $58,000, if the seller's not going to budge off the price, or even like $55,000, I would probably pass until the price comes down. He may find a buyer at $58,000 if they want it bad enough, but for me, I would pass at that price. Unless you could come down, around $10,000, I would probably pass on it. So anyway, that is what I have for VIN 973. It has the potential to be a good one, but you have to get it cheap enough. So that's what I've got for you. Thanks again for watching, guys. Make sure you're subscribed, thumbs up, and of course, comment down below. It helps the algorithm out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.